The high seas were ruled by terror, with Blackbeard the most feared. But he wasn't alone. History's deadliest pirates left a trail of chaos. Number 5. The gentleman pirate, Stade Bonnet. Unlike most pirates who turned to the sea out of desperation, Stade Bonnet was born into wealth. A respected plantation owner in Barbados with no sailing experience, he inexplicably abandoned his privileged life, purchased a ship named the Revenge, and declared himself a pirate. Unlike ruthless peers, Bonnet maintained his aristocratic habits, dressing in fine clothing, keeping a library on board, and even paying his crew salaries instead of splitting the loot. His inexperience quickly became his downfall. He was indecisive in battle, relied on his quartermaster to make decisions, and suffered humiliating defeats. Recognizing his weakness, the infamous Blackbeard took Bonnet under his wing, but soon saw him as a liability. Blackbeard seized control of Revenge and left Bonnet a powerless spectator aboard his own ship. Determined to prove himself, Bonnet attempted to raid merchant vessels along the American coast, but his efforts failed. His final mistake came in 1718 when he was captured by the British near Cape Fear, North Carolina. After a failed escape attempt, he was tried for piracy and sentenced to death. On December 10, 1718, he was hanged in Charleston. Though his career was short and disastrous, Stade Bonnet remains one of the most bizarre figures in pirate history. A wealthy aristocrat who tried to play the role of a fearsome buccaneer, only to meet a grim and humiliating end. Up next, a pirate feared across the Atlantic, who became one of the most successful raiders of all time. Number 4. Charles Vane was one of the most ruthless and unpredictable pirates of the Golden Age. Unlike many pirates who sought fortune above all else, Vane thrived on pure violence and defiance. He was known for his brutality, showing no mercy to his victims and often torturing prisoners for amusement. While other pirates preferred intimidation over bloodshed, Vane had no hesitation in burning ships and killing entire crews. His reputation skyrocketed in 1716 when he joined the notorious pirate Henry Jennings in raiding Spanish treasure ships. But it was his leadership of a pirate fleet in the Bahamas that cemented his legacy. When King George offered a royal pardon to pirates, many, including Blackbeard, accepted. Vane, however, outright rejected it, openly mocking those who took the deal. His defiance made him an enemy of the British, but it also won him the respect of die-hard pirates who refused to give up their way of life. Vane's downfall came in 1719 when his crew mutinied against him. They had grown tired of his reckless leadership, and in a rare move, they voted to remove him as captain. Stranded on a deserted island, Vane eventually escaped but never regained his former power. In 1720, he was captured while trying to pass himself off as a shipwrecked sailor. After being taken to Jamaica, he was found guilty of piracy and hanged in Port Royal in 1721. Vane's legacy remains one of sheer defiance. He was a pirate who never surrendered, never bowed to authority, and fought until the very end. Number 3. Bartholomew Roberts, better known as Black Bart, earned the title the King of Pirates for good reason. Unlike most pirates, he didn't just steal, he built an empire. Roberts was calculated, disciplined, and led with military precision, making his fleet one of the most feared on the seas. His ruthless efficiency allowed him to capture over 400 ships, more than any other pirate of his time. Roberts started as a reluctant pirate. In 1719, he was a navigator on a slave ship when pirates captured it. Forced into piracy, he quickly proved his worth, and when the pirate captain was killed, Roberts was elected as the new leader. Under his command, the crew became stronger than ever, striking fear into merchants and naval officers alike. What made Roberts different was his strict pirate code. He demanded discipline, banned alcohol on missions, and insisted on proper conduct. His crews followed him not out of fear, but out of respect for his unmatched leadership. He also dressed the part, wearing a red velvet coat, a feathered hat, and a gold chain. He carried himself like royalty. But even the greatest pirate had to face his end. In 1722, the British Royal Navy caught up with him off the coast of West Africa. In a fierce battle, Roberts was shot and killed. Honoring his final wish, his crew threw his body overboard, denying the British the satisfaction of capturing him. Roberts's legacy remains unmatched. He was a pirate who didn't just live by the code, he defined it. But next, we meet a man whose cruelty knew no limits. Edward Lowe. Number 2. Edward Lowe was one of the most sadistic and feared pirates to ever sail the seas. Unlike other pirates who sought fortune and glory, Lowe thrived on pure brutality. His reputation for extreme violence made even the most hardened criminals fear him. Unlike Blackbeard, who used intimidation as a tactic, Lowe actually enjoyed torture. Originally a petty thief in London, Lowe fled to the Caribbean, where he turned to piracy in the 1720s. He quickly rose through the ranks, eventually becoming captain of his own fleet. But it wasn't his success in capturing ships that made him infamous. It was his merciless treatment of prisoners. Lowe had a habit of mutilating captives, cutting off ears, noses, and even lips before killing them. Some victims were forced to eat their own body parts. His cruelty wasn't just for show, it was a way to instill fear. No ship wanted to cross paths with him, knowing that surrender didn't guarantee survival. His fleet ravaged the Atlantic, seizing dozens of ships and leaving a trail of horror behind. Even other pirates considered him too brutal, but Lowe's reign of terror couldn't last forever. By 1724, his violent nature had turned his own crew against him. In a rare act of rebellion, they abandoned him at sea, leaving him to his fate. Some rumors claim he was later captured by the French and executed, but his true fate remains a mystery. Edward Lowe's name became synonymous with pure terror. But as terrifying as he was, there was still one pirate who surpassed them all. The most legendary pirate in history, Blackbeard. Number 1. Blackbeard wasn't just a pirate, he was a legend. His real name was Edward Teach, and he became the most feared pirate of the Golden Age. With his massive black beard, burning fuses in his hat, and an arsenal of weapons strapped to his chest, Blackbeard crafted an image of pure terror. Unlike other pirates who relied on violence alone, he mastered psychological warfare. Most ships surrendered at the mere sight of him, avoiding a fight altogether. Blackbeard's reign of terror peaked between 1716 and 1718. He captured a powerful French warship and renamed it Queen Anne's Revenge, arming it with 40 cannons. With this monstrous ship, he blockaded the port of Charleston, South Carolina, holding the entire city hostage until his demands were met. His fleet looted ships along the American coast, making him one of the most notorious criminals of the era. Despite his terrifying reputation, Blackbeard wasn't as bloodthirsty as legends suggest. He preferred intimidation over unnecessary slaughter, but his defiance of British rule made him a prime target. In 1718, the British Navy launched a daring attack to take him down. After an intense battle, Blackbeard was finally killed, shot 5 times, and slashed with over 20 sword wounds before collapsing. Even after death, his legend grew. Some claim his body swam around his ship 3 times before sinking. Blackbeard's name still echoes through history, symbolizing the very essence of piracy. Ruthless, cunning, and larger than life, he remains the most infamous pirate of all time.